There's this strange paradox every startup founder lives in fear of. It's the idea that the very thing you're fighting for, success, might be the exact thing that ends up destroying your platform. So, let's dig into a really critical question. Why is it that going viral, getting that huge wave of users you've dreamed of, so often ends in a total, catastrophic failure? It's the ultimate high-stakes problem, right? And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why it happens and, more importantly, how you can avoid it. So the first thing you have to get your head around is this difference. Total users, that big, flashy number you see in headlines, it's mostly a vanity metric. It just tells you how many people signed up over time. But concurrent users? That's the real test. That's how many people are browsing, messaging, and clicking buy at the exact same second. That's the flash flood of activity that exposes every single weak point and just shatters a system that isn't ready for it. In getting ready for it all starts with your very first big decision, the architectural foundation you choose to build on. This one choice, right at the beginning, really does set the stage for everything that comes after. Okay, so this lays out a really crucial trade-off. Early on, a monolith, where everything is in one single system, is fantastic. I mean, it's fast to build, it's way easier to debug, and it's perfect when you're just trying to find that product-market fit. Microservices, on the other hand, are designed for massive targeted growth. They let you scale individual parts of your platform all by themselves. It's not about which one is better, it's about which one is right for where you are in your journey. And this right here is the key takeaway. The goal isn't to launch with some super complex microservices set up from day one. That's a classic and very expensive mistake. No, the smart play is to build a simple, clean system that's designed to evolve when and only when that real growth pressure actually shows up. So, when that pressure does hit, where do things start to crack first? Well, it almost always comes for the same three areas. Let's take a look at the systems that consistently break down under pressure. First up, search. Come on. We've all been there. You're on a marketplace, it's getting bigger, there are thousands of new listings. So why does finding anything suddenly feel like you're wading through molasses? It's painfully slow. Well, the problem is surprisingly common, and it comes down to using the wrong tool for the job. Your standard database is incredible at handling transactions and keeping your data perfectly organized. Think of it like a meticulous accountant. But it was never, ever designed for the kind of complex, filter-heavy searching that users demand. It just can't keep up with that kind of workload. So how do you fix it? It's a pretty clear two-step process. First, you have to isolate your search traffic. You need to separate all the people just browsing, which is read-heavy activity, from the people actually making purchases, which is write-heavy activity. Then, you bring in a dedicated system, a specialized search engine that is built for one thing and one thing only, delivering lightning-fast, relevant results, no matter how much data you throw at. All right, on to the next major breaking point, messaging. Why is it that those real-time chats with a seller suddenly start to lag? Or even worse, messages just vanish right when you're trying to close a deal. This isn't just an annoying glitch, it's a fundamental breakdown of trust. Because you have to remember, messaging is so much more than just another feature. It is a trust mechanism. When that communication fails, transactions fall apart, deals collapse, and users lose all their confidence in your platform. It's the digital handshake, and it absolutely has to be reliable. The solution here is going to sound a little familiar. Step 1, completely separate the messaging system from everything else. This stops a sudden flood of chat messages from taking down your entire platform. Step 2, you use what's called an event-driven design. You can think of it like a mail system that treats every single message like its own separate package. This approach pretty much guarantees that no message ever gets lost, even in the middle of a massive traffic spike. And that brings us to the third system, and you could argue it's the most critical one of all: payments. Why is it that payments and payouts suddenly become this huge bottleneck, right when you're supposed to be making more money than ever? The issue here isn't just technical, it's operational. Look, in the early days, a little manual processing for payments is totally fine, but as your transaction volume explodes, that human intervention becomes the bottleneck. It causes delays, it leads to expensive errors, and it just completely destroys the trust you've worked so hard to build. Scaling payments is all about removing that human dependency. The only real solution is to automate every single step of the payment flow, from holding money in escrow to releasing it to sellers. You need a system that can handle the whole shebang without anyone needing to click a button. And you have to build it for bulletproof reliability with monitoring that can spot and handle failures automatically. Okay, so we've covered the big three features that are famous for breaking. But what about the hidden foundation that's holding everything up? Let's talk for a minute about infrastructure, cost, and security. This chart tells the story perfectly. With traditional hosting, you're paying for a fixed amount of server space. That means you're either wasting money when things are quiet, or you're totally unprepared for a traffic spike. Cloud hosting, though, is dynamic. The cost scales right alongside your traffic. You only pay for what you use, which is what makes your growth financially sustainable. And as you get bigger, security can't be an afterthought. It has to scale right along with you. This means building a proactive defense, a high availability architecture so you don't have outages, end-to-end data encryption to protect your users, and automated systems to fight off attacks. These aren't just nice-to-haves. These are the absolute foundational requirements for building a platform people can trust. So, what's the final piece of the puzzle? Well, it's not a piece of technology at all. It's about adopting a scalability mindset across your entire organization. This is where you achieve true long-term scalability. You use AI and automation to handle all the routine stuff, things like recommending products, detecting fraud, or filtering out spam. This stuff absorbs the pressure of growth quietly in the background, and it frees up your actual human teams to focus on the really complex problems that need their creativity and attention. Which brings us to the core message of this whole explainer, and it's summed up perfectly right here. The foundation you choose determines whether growth becomes a competitive advantage or a breaking point. It's that simple. When you plan for success, it makes you stronger. When you ignore it, it exposes every single one of your limits. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Is the platform you're building, or maybe the one you're using every day, actually built for success, or is it built to eventually just break under the weight of it?